We'll hear from local health officials if COVID-19 variants have shown up in the area.
Hundreds of dollars could be coming your way from the federal government next month. I'm Caroline Shively in Washington. I'll have details straight ahead.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Obby. Fire crews battled an early morning fire in Carterville, Missouri. It happened around 5:45 this morning on Elm Street. There is no word on whether anyone was inside or if anyone was hurt. We're going to keep following this story and provide more information once we have it. Meteorologist Nick Kelly joining us now with our first look at the forecast. Cooler temperatures today, much more enjoyable.
It was a lot overdue and about time too, Jordan. We had a beautiful day overall. And don't believe me, we have the numbers to back it up. We had a high of 82. After we started at the high of 82 and dropped to 63 this morning. As far as the sky conditions throughout the day, we had to start out with quite a bit of rain and thunderstorms throughout the morning hours. Then the rest of the afternoon was just a process of clearing everything out. We're looking okay right now. At the top of the hour, and most spots are starting to cool off quite a bit. Mid to upper 60s. We got a chilly night ahead of us, but we'll see if this nice weather sticks around for tomorrow and the rest of the week. Here in a bit, Jordan.
Nick Kelly, thank you as always. COVID-19 variants are popping up in southwest Missouri and rural parts of Kansas. Most recently, it's been the Delta variant, which is said to be more transmissible, especially for those who are not vaccinated. KOAM's Chris Warner tells us how these variants are being found in some sewage water.
Coronavirus cases are starting to increase again in southwest Missouri and southeast Kansas. The Crawford County Health Department says they're also starting to see an emergence of the Delta variant.
The one of concern for us is the Delta variant, and not because it's more dangerous, but because it makes the virus more transmissible.
They say this variant makes it even more important to be vaccinated against the virus.
So we want people to be aware. We have had 7 verified cases since June 1st that had the Delta variant. And so it is here, and we just want people to be aware of that fact and to reconsider becoming, vaccinated.
In Newton County, they have 2 confirmed cases of the Delta variant and first found out the variant was in the county through the sewage water.
There have been testing of the wastewater sewage system, and they have found some of the variants in the watershed, the sewer water. And so don't know if that means that there's going to be an uptick in those particular variants. It just really shows us that COVID is here in all of its forms.
Mark Johnson, a professor at the University of Missouri, says they've been collecting water samples throughout the state since last July.
Just collecting wastewater samples from many different places throughout the state and just using them to measure how much SARS-CoV-2 was in the wastewater.
In Newton County, that's been in Joplin and Neosho. Johnson says this method of testing is more efficient.
With the wastewater, we get a pretty rapid readout, and it's not only rapid, but it's also more comprehensive. So, you might get a person that tests positive for India variant. The beautiful part is it doesn't matter whether they got tested or not. As long as they are pooping in their toilet, we'll be able to detect it if they were infected.
In Newton and Crawford counties, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Both Newton and Crawford County Health Departments urge residents to get vaccinated as a way to gain protection against any variants. Missouri's governor says the Show Me Hope Crisis Counseling Program grant is receiving additional funding through the end of December of 2021. That extension is going to allow crisis counselors to continue to provide psychological services to Missourians who've been affected by COVID-19. FEMA recently awarded a $3.8 million grant extension for the CCP Regular Services Program to the Department of Mental Health for service delivery and outreach services through participating mental health agencies. We're about a month away now from the start of the Summer Olympics. Today, Tokyo 2020 organizers released some of the final plans for how they're going to be keeping the games safe. Fox News correspondent Ryan Chillicote has more.
Athletes winning gold at next month's Olympics will be met with a silent crowd. Monday, Tokyo 2020 organizers announced a 50% capacity limit, or up to 10,000 local spectators at each Olympic venue. People who do attend are asked to follow strict safety guidelines. They'll have to wear a mask, head straight home after events, and avoid cheering.
The vaccination is ongoing, so currently we believe we can minimize the risks on the medical system.
This year's games will look different from past years, with no international spectators allowed to attend. The decision to allow local fans comes as Tokyo emerges from a state of emergency, following a spike in new infections. But even with precautions, some fear the games could become a super spreader event.
Spectators will come from various places and enter the venue, possibly leading to an influx of people and clusters, so this is a concern.
The concern comes as the Delta variant continues its grip on dozens of countries. The CDC estimates the strain accounts for about 10% of new COVID-19 cases in the U.S. Here in the UK, more than 90% of new infections are tied to the Delta variant. Last week, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson delayed plans to lift remaining lockdown restrictions.
It's going up by about 30% a week in cases, hospitalizations up by roughly the same amount. So we've got to be cautious, but we'll be following the data the whole time.
Olympic organizers say they are keeping the door open to having no fans if the pandemic worsens. In London, Ryan Chilcote, Fox News.
So many economic issues are up in the air right now, with Washington debating how to handle infrastructure, inflation, and taxes. But one thing's for sure, if you've got kids, you're about to get a nice fat check from the government. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively has details from D.C.
Top-level discussions on money, taxes, and how much of it to spend are taking center stage this week in Washington. Monday afternoon, President Biden met with top regulators as he faces a wide range of financial issues, including rising inflation and unemployment benefits.
We continue to believe that with more than 7 million people out of work, that there's still additional assistance we should give to the American public.
Meanwhile, members of Congress are debating infrastructure plans, including a bipartisan Senate proposal that comes in at $1.2 trillion over 8 years.
The Republicans and the Democrats, we could come together and spend a lot of time working on this. I think it can get done. It better get done.
House Democrats are working on a package 5 times that size, but Republicans are already balking at the $6 trillion price tag.
That would be a very big sticking point because $6 trillion is more than we spent on World War II.
While Congress considers how many trillions of dollars to spend, 36 million American families will get a chance to spend hundreds more every month. Starting July 15th, the expanded child tax credit will pay $300 per month per child for those under 6 and $250 for children between 6 and 17.
In California and across the nation, working families will feel the immediate impact of the tax credit because it puts money directly into parents' pockets.
Those cash payments run through December, but the Biden administration wants to expand the tax credit for 5 more years. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes its time to honor one of our 4 state heroes. Chuck Gibson served in the U.S. Army, spending time in Germany. He earned several awards, including the Good Conduct Medal and Overseas Medal. We are proud to thank Chuck Gibson. He's tonight's 4 state hero. Nick is on deck with a complete look at the forecast, and a bit later, more postseason honors for Colgan senior Caitlin Crossland. Gonna have those details, of course, in sports.
After a long preview of early summer heat and humidity, Mother Nature gave us a first break in the heat for our first Monday of the summer season. We'll certainly take it considering how hot it can usually get late in this month of June. But this morning we had a good storm system bring in a good scattering of rain and thunderstorms, not to mention quite a bit of cloud cover. Thankfully nothing severe, but it did leave some rain behind, this cold front that passed on through. Half an inch of rain on the average, but you can see some embedded pockets across areas along 54 and right around Joplin, pushing an inch to almost 2 inches of rain. That's just according to radar estimates alone. Fortunately, we are drying out. It's nice to see nothing on the radar network, and that cold front certainly lived up to its name. Take yesterday, for example, topping out in the lower to middle 90s yesterday afternoon. Midnight highs in the lower 80s, but as the storms in the front plowed on through, we dropped to 63 at 7 a.m. An impressive rebound, though. We went back into the mid-70s this afternoon. Still looks great. Sun still setting at 9:12 from the east side of Joplin. Currently, we are at 65 in Joplin. A calm breeze. Look at that dew point in the mid-50s. Not only is that an indication of where we'll go for tomorrow morning, but it's a great indication of Finally, more comfy air. That's pretty hard to come by late in this month of June. Most of us are in the mid to upper 60s now, but we're going to continue to drop off throughout the course of the night. And by the way, these numbers now are 15 to 20 degrees cooler than the mid 80s that we were at this time last night. Nothing on the Skywatch Storm Tracker here to worry about for tonight. The last front that worked on through still posing some strong to severe storms from the Appalachian Mountain Range up into New England, all ahead of this cold front covering a vast amount of real estate. For us, though, we're not worried about the front anymore. We've got high pressure over Kansas, keeping that light north breeze in place for tonight, along with the quiet skies, and not to mention the jet stream, looking very atypical for June. Normally, we'd be under this ridge of high pressure to keep us hot and humid, but we're on the cooler side of the jet, and that's where we're going to stay, not only for tonight, but for tomorrow as well. So, with clear skies, a light breeze, and dry air in place, plan on a chilly start for your Tuesday morning with everybody in and out of Joplin, dropping back to at least 54 degrees with a south breeze at 5 miles per hour. The rest of the day looks pretty good with the dry air still in place, though, and the light south breeze. We'll waste no time heating things up. 76 by noon, but only heating up to a high of 81 in Joplin. Everybody else mainly in the lower 80s, so we're not looking too bad for our Tuesday afternoon ahead of us. Even for Wednesday, the ridge tries to build back in, but we're still on the cooler side of the jet, so we're going to say mid-80s for your Wednesday. Then on Thursday and Friday, highs might flirt with the 90-degree mark, but we'll focus on our next storm system that will definitely keep temperatures in check as we go through the rest of the upcoming weekend. So let's roll in your 7-day forecast. We are seeing 81 degrees for tomorrow, and well, Max is getting a little bit ahead of me, Jordan. I'm going to see if I can squeeze in just a little extra time to get this 7-day backup for you, because again, these are numbers we usually don't see late in this month of June. 85 Wednesday, lower 90s Thursday, Friday, and as the rain chances ramp up for the weekend, that'll knock highs back in the 80s.
Awesome relief for the time being, in a way.
It was much deserved, too.
Yeah. Hey, Kelly, thank you. Hey, you may have noticed we have a new look here at KOAM. We updated our graphics. Also, the logo. There you go. The new logo has a bold design, also features a play button, if you see it right there, which reflects our commitment to bring viewers the information they need to know across all of our platforms, which is television and digital. Sadly, though, you still have to deal with my face, so bear with us when it comes to that. and Nick Kelly, too. Well, coming up, tornadoes and heavy rains.
A weekend of severe weather leaving a trail of destruction across the Midwest and Southeast. I'm Jonathan Seri in East Bruton, Alabama. I'll have details coming up.
Massive destruction and at least a dozen dead. This after severe weather sweeps across portions of the Midwest, also Southeast this weekend. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seri has more now from Alabama.
My gosh, it just hit quick. I mean, this is like something you see on TV, but you never experience it.
A tornado ripping through the suburbs of Chicago Sunday night with powerful winds taking the roofs off of homes while knocking some right off their foundations. Officials there reporting at least half a dozen injuries and tens of thousands of people left without power. In the meantime, Claudette regaining tropical storm strength, the storm battering the southeast with heavy winds and rains over the weekend, and it's now on its way towards the Carolina coast, where a tropical storm warning is in effect. In Alabama, the National Weather Service confirming an EF2 tornado tore through the community of East Bruton, with winds reaching 127 miles an hour. One man driving through the storm as the tornado hit.
It was just raining hard, raining in winds, and then I seen tree limbs dropping in front of me, so I had to swerve around them, and it just came through right in front of me.
And in Butler County, the NTSB is now investigating after a pileup crash involving more than a dozen vehicles on Interstate 65 left 10 dead, including a father from Tennessee and his 9-month-old daughter, and a group of girls between the ages of 3 and 17, some of them part of a youth program for abused and neglected children. And you can see these ominous storm clouds behind me. Rain is slowing down relief efforts as homeowners try to rebuild their communities. In East Bruton, Alabama, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
Nick Kelly was just saying that tornado that went through the Chicago area received a preliminary rating of an EF3. Just ahead, compensating student athletes.
A unanimous ruling by the Supreme Court impacting college athletes. I'm Madla Rivera with a closer look at what this case means for the future.
A major ruling by the Supreme Court today regarding a compensation battle with college athletes. The High Court ruled the NCAA illegally restricted education-based benefits that could be used as compensation to student athletes. The ruling taking place as Congress debates legislation impacting athletes. Fox's Madeline Rivera has the latest from the nation's highest court.
Student athletes are celebrating a major victory on Monday. The Supreme Court ruling unanimously the NCAA can't enforce rules limiting education-related benefits, a decision that could shape the future of college sports and how athletes are compensated.
It only deals with these smaller benefits, computers, school-related expenses. But the language coming out of this opinion is quite strong.
The case doesn't decide whether students can be paid salaries, but it would allow them to receive other benefits like postgraduate scholarships, paid internships, and computers. The NCAA had argued the limits were necessary to preserve the amateur nature of college sports. However, Justice Brett Kavanaugh argues the NCAA is not above the law, writing, "The NCAA's business model of using unpaid student athletes to generate billions of dollars in revenue for the colleges raises serious questions under the antitrust laws."
This is absolutely a free market dynamic.
The decision comes as debate heats up in Congress over whether athletes should profit from use of their name, image, and likeness.
These athletes have limited resources in their ability to advocate for themselves.
Meanwhile, the NCAA says the High Court's ruling reaffirms its authority to adopt reasonable rules and says even though the decision does not directly address name, image, and likeness, the NCAA remains committed to supporting NIL benefits for student athletes.
Even though there is still no NCAA legislation in place, state-specific NIL laws will take effect next month, allowing student athletes to start accepting endorsement deals. At the Supreme Court, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Coming up, after people flocked to South Africa for a possible diamond rush, hoping to strike it big, right? Experts announce whether the stones are legit. A diamond rush turns out to be a bust. Thousands of people with picks and shovels right there flocked to a rural village in South Africa earlier this month after a shepherd found a clear stone in a field. So yeah, you kind of know what's next, right? The fortune seekers found unidentified stones, but officials say tests show they are not diamonds. Instead, the stones turned out to be much less valuable quartz crystals. We were talking here in the studio. Most of the time, not always, but most of the time in life, if it's too good to be true, yada, 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 right? 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming away as some areas, cities consider a scooter program. Going to look at some local programs already established.
A new president in Iran is complicating whether or not the U.S. will re-enter the Iran nuclear deal. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. I'll explain what the administration is thinking coming up.
Joplin City Council tonight hearing a presentation on an alternative mode of transportation, scooters. Bird scooters specifically. Company is looking to town. Scooters utilize an app. Now that app allows residents to rent the scooters for a short period of time. When the person who is traveling by scooter is done, they just leave it for the next rider or to be picked up by a bird contractor for repair or charging. Now, while scooters may be coming to Joplin, cities like Pittsburgh and Carthage have already adopted them into their communities. KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke to both Pittsburgh and Carthage city officials to learn if their new transportation option has been a hit or a bust.
Joplin City Council may want to look to its four state neighbors as it considers partnering with Bird Scooters to bring a scooter program to Joplin. The city of Pittsburgh brought Bird Scooters to town last fall, and Carthage got its scooter program courtesy of the Lime Company up and running just last week.
They've been wildly popular to this point. Most of the riding's been occurring during the evening hours when it's nice and cool out.
Sure, those scooters are the hot new ticket in Carthage, but what about Pittsburgh where they've been around for a bit?
There's been 4,600 rides from April to today, which is pretty healthy in terms of usage.
Pittsburgh's deputy city manager says the community has come to accept and even appreciate the scooters after first wondering why they were being left around town. The scooters are rentable within a certain area, and the company sends people to pick them up after they're done being ridden.
After people got used to them, they seem to be okay with it.
And Carthage has gotten a jump on the issue of scooters being randomly left around town by creating a scooter district of sorts.
We mapped out locations with Lime to create a historic district where people can ride Lime scooters and go through the Carthage Historic District. They're accessible in our parks.
In Carthage and Pittsburgh, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
Pittsburgh's deputy city manager also says his city's scooter program was adopted when COVID-19 was having a much more drastic effect on how people socialized. He thinks the program is going to see an even bigger growth this summer. Upcoming Pitt State school year is still a couple of months away, but today incoming freshmen got an early look at campus. The university today hosted freshman orientation. Around 100 students showed up for information on college living, meals, chapter houses, the health center, and other topics. Students also officially received their Pitt State IDs and rang the campus bell. Officials say it's a great way to introduce students to PSU. Part of Main Street in Joplin was closed because of that. The Great Race. Great Race is a cross-country old car rally that lasts 1 week and covers thousands of miles. Beautiful cars. Look at that one. Today the car stopped by Joplin 44 Petro to fuel up, then went downtown. The Biden administration is weighing whether or not to rejoin the Iran nuclear deal and how that would work after former President Trump removed the U.S. back in 2018. Iran has now elected a new leader, and one of our closest allies, Israel's newly elected prime minister, says the U.S. needs to, quote, wake up and understand who they're dealing with. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard explains from Washington.
Israel's new Prime Minister Naftali Bennett didn't mince words, telling the U.S. and other world leaders they need to wake up to who they are dealing with in Iran's new president, Ibrahim Raisi.
Raisi's selection is, I would say, the last chance for the world powers to wake up before returning to the nuclear agreement and to understand who they're doing business with.
The U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says the administration doesn't support Iran's new leader and understands why there is concern from Israel. But the hope is to get a deal in place to get the U.S. back in the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action before newly elected Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi takes office in August. Sullivan says the U.S. has substantial leverage this time around.
What we're intending to do is to reimpose the constraints that put Iran's nuclear program in a box. The limits on enrichment, the limits on stockpile, the intensive verification measures.
Iran has not agreed to direct talks with the U.S., but indirect negotiations are ongoing with other leaders.
We will come to the table not just with sanctions leverage, but with a united front of the world powers.
The Biden administration argues Republican policies of pulling out of the deal in 2018 and imposing sanctions on Iran have endangered the world. The former Secretary of State, along with many Republicans, say President Biden's willingness to negotiate is putting Iran one step closer to a nuclear weapon.
It's not a regime that we ought to be engaged with. We ought to continue the maximum pressure campaign and force this regime to change its behavior.
The National Security Advisor says the plan is not to go back to just the same agreement as during the Obama administration. They say they're eventually hoping for something stronger and more secure. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
A bit later, retailers hoping to take a prime shot at Amazon's Prime.
Two of America's largest retailers are going head-to-head. Amazon offering its Prime Day sales, Walmart offering deals for days. Who will come out on top? I've got the predictions coming up.
It was sure nice of Mother Nature to reward us after spending several days with an early summer preview of heat and humidity. That break in the action came courtesy of a cold front that rolled through late last night through today, and with it, pretty good dosing of showers and thunderstorms. Nothing severe, thankfully. And then we just spent most of the afternoon hours getting rid of the rain chances, and not to mention seeing the skies turn mostly sunny and mostly clear once again as we venture through the rest of the evening. What the rain left behind, not much, really. Half an inch on the average, but some embedded pockets along 54 and right around Joplin, almost pushing over 2 inches of rainfall in some spots. But ever since we saw the mostly skies come back into play, the mostly clear skies rather, it is nice that that's resulting in nothing on the radar network as we continue through the overnight hours. Not to mention the cold front, the same one that brought the rain through today, certainly lived up to its name. We went from the lower to middle 90s yesterday to midnight highs in the lower 80s before the front and the storms. Forced temperatures down to 63 at 7 a.m., but a nice rebound, warmer than I was even expecting, to about 76 during the afternoon. And we're still looking okay with the last of the sun's rays still up in the western horizons around Joplin. 65 degrees with the calm breeze and the dew point in the mid-50s. That gives you an idea of where we'll go as we go throughout the course of the night. As far as the rest of the area is concerned, most of us are in the mid-60s, but you start to push back into the upper 60s to near 70 around Yates Center, Chanute, and around Fredonia and Neodesha. But still, these numbers are 15 to 20 degrees cooler than where we were at this time last night, when we were still in the 80s. Thankfully, nothing to worry about here tonight behind our storm system that's continuing to spawn strong and severe storms up into the northeastern parts of the U.S. And behind that front, we are thankful to have high pressure centered over western Kansas, keeping that light breeze in place and quiet skies in place for tonight as well. Not to mention the upper level setup looking good as well. Normally we'd be under this upper level ridge to keep us hot and humid, but as long as we're on the cool side of the ridge for tonight and tomorrow, it's going to feel nice as well as look nice once again throughout the entire day ahead of us. We just have to get past a chilly start in the morning. Again, with the dry air in place, a light breeze and mostly clear skies, we will drop back to 54. Definitely might need the jacket first thing in the morning, but you can shed it throughout the rest of the day. 76 by noon, and we'll push afternoon highs in Joplin with that light south breeze right around 81 degrees, and most of us will be in the lower 80s for tomorrow afternoon. Now for Wednesday, the upper level ridge is going to try and build back in, but we're still on the cool side of the jet. So let's say highs in the mid 80s. Thursday, Friday, we'll have to watch for some rain chances to start building in, but the ridge is going to try to push highs back near 90 for both days. But as we go through the rest of the coming weekend, the stronger storm system, the next one on the way in, that will certainly serve to keep temperatures in check. Let me show you what I mean on the 7-day forecast. 81 for tomorrow, 60 degrees for your Wednesday morning. Then we're back into the mid 80s. Lower 90s for Thursday and Friday. Just a short visit in the lower 90s, Jordan, before the better rain chances for the weekend knocks us back into the mid 80s.
50s tonight, you know, in the 50s degree range. Goodness gracious.
Hey, this is a... I'm flabbergasted.
What can you say, right? Yeah. I said I wanted it cool, but not that cool, Nick Kelly. I like complaining.
But no, after this heat wave, it feels like we'll take these numbers.
That's true. All right, Nick, thank you so much. Researchers are studying how COVID-19 impacts pregnant women and their babies. Reporter Danya Bacchus introduces us to a mom who had the coronavirus during a very high-risk pregnancy.
Alicia Shepard was 5 months pregnant with triplets when she tested positive for COVID-19.
Exhaustion and real, very hard shortness of breath, awful hard cough that, it was hard enough I cracked a rib.
With COVID being a new illness, she didn't know what to expect.
What was that like?
My gut just sank with this fear of, I didn't even care about me, but this fear of what will this mean for our kids?
Researchers are learning more about how COVID can affect pregnant women. Alicia took part in a UCLA study looking at nearly 600 pregnant women who tested positive for COVID.
What we've seen so far is generally that patients do well overall. They don't tend to have as much fever, but they do present with cough and very much the similar cold symptoms.
Most pregnant women had mild disease and didn't need to be hospitalized, but a quarter experienced symptoms that lasted 2 months or more. Dr. Rashmi Rao is a maternal fetal medicine physician.
Those that have severe COVID tend to have a little bit of an increased risk of adverse outcomes, and that can be either delivery by C-section, delivery a little bit earlier, so preterm delivery.
After recovering from COVID, Alicia went into labor at 28 weeks. Doctors don't know if COVID caused the early delivery or if it was just the nature of the pregnancy. Her 3 daughters spent more than 2 months in the NICU, but are healthy and thriving.
If my experience of what my family went through with COVID can provide data that's going to help someone else's family, then I'm all in for that.
And they are all in for what's next as a family of 6. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
In addition to the outcomes, the researchers also studied immunology, finding most mothers who had COVID passed antibodies to their babies. Coming up in sports, former Pitt State thrower Brett Thompson competing in the javelin at the U.S. Olympic trials. Plus, the Joplin Outlaws aiming to stay hot against the Nevada Griffins. Jacob Leonard joins us with that and more next.
Former Pitt State thrower Brett Thompson is in the javelin finals at the U.S. Olympic Trials in Eugene, Oregon. On Saturday, Thompson earned his spot in the finals by finishing 9th out of 24 in the first round of competition. Tonight, the Erie High School product back at it, aiming to keep his Olympic hopes alive. Thompson's season, though, comes to an end. He finishes 12th, with the best throw of 210 feet 2 inches. The former Gorilla finishes the year as an All-American and an MIAA outdoor champion. The Joplin Outlaws are still in first place in the Mink League South Division. The Outlaws are 9-6 coming into the night, a game and a half up on Jeff City for the top spot in the division. Joplin at home against the Nevada Griffins tonight, aiming for their 5th win in 7 games. The Griffins get it started in the first. Alec Tellis sends it back to center. Jack Swisher comes home. Nevada takes a quick 1-0 lead. Now on the mound for the Griffins, dudes of Missouri Southern line, Chase Bider. Check out the pickoff move. Bider has thrown 7 shutout innings so far with 7 strikeouts. And Nevada tries to add more in the top of the 4th. Bases loaded with just 1 out, but Reese Weeks, 2 big-time strikeouts for the Outlaws. He strikes out 8 in 5 innings. The offense, though, not there right now. Outlaws trail the Griffins 7-0 in the top of the 8th. St. Mary's Colgan pitcher Caitlin Crossland has been named the 2A Player of the Year by Sports in Kansas. Now, Crossland did it all this season for Colgan, leading the Panthers to their 2nd consecutive state championship. Now, the Colgan senior collected 40 hits, including 12 doubles and 8 home runs on the season, driving in 40. She was at her best in the circle. Crossland was 20-2 pitching for Colgan with a 1.45 ERA. She struck out 205 batters on the year. Now, Crossland, not the only one from Colgan, earning All-State recognition today from Sports in Kansas. Her teammates Allie and Ashley Marietta also earned first-team honors. Allie at catcher, Ashley in the outfield. And Northeast High School's Shelby Underwood makes the All-State first team as a utility player. In Class 3A, a bunch of Frontenac Raiders here. Pitcher Mia Brown, infielder Heather Arnett, and outfielder Abby Beeman all earned first-team All-State honors today. Auburn commit Riley McNeamer also on the first team as an infielder for the Galena Bulldogs. You can check out all of the All-State honorees from Sports in Kansas in this story on KOAMNewsNow.com. Former Oklahoma Sooners star Trey Young will play in his first Eastern Conference Finals. Young led the Atlanta Hawks to a Game 7 win over the 76ers last night to put the Hawks in the East Finals for the first time since 2015. Now, the former Sooners averaging 29 points, 10 assists per game in the postseason. And at just 22 years old, he's posted at least 20 points and 7 assists in each of his first 12 career playoff games.
Yeah, I mean, it's high. I mean, guys, the confidence is still there. The confidence is going to remain the same. We're happy we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but we're not satisfied. So it's great that we're here, but we still got some games to win.
That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Amazon is set to surpass Walmart as the largest U.S. retailer, according to projections from J.P. Morgan. Meanwhile, Amazon's Prime Days kicks off 2 days of deals today. But its competitors are also holding big sales, and this could be a big test of whether online retail can continue surging post-pandemic. Fox Business Network's Lydia Hugh has more.
After Amazon announced it would hold its Amazon Prime Days today and tomorrow, Walmart came out with its own competing offers, holding its Deals for Days starting yesterday, going through Wednesday, offering 2 additional days of sales that are available both in-store and online. Now, Amazon is coming off a great 2020 in terms of sales, boosted by consumers who are shopping online, which accelerated Amazon's growth to 39% of the e-commerce market. And even during the first 3 months of this year, Amazon reported a profit of $8.1 billion compared to $2.5 billion during the same time last year. Now, these dueling shopping sales with Amazon and Walmart will test whether consumers will continue to shop online with Amazon or perhaps will return to brick and mortar with Walmart.
I think the real challenge is going to be the secondary and tertiary retailers who are trying to compete on price, who are trying to compete on convenience, but just don't have the infrastructure or the ability to do that without deteriorating gross margins to a point where they can't survive.
Target, Best Buy, and Kohl's are among the other companies also offering their own sales to compete. Now, retail sales were down 1.3% last month, but generally speaking, retail spending is expected to grow this year. The National Retail Federation is projecting 10% growth in retail spending as the economy continues to reopen. Then we could see a fair amount of spending happening between these two sales with Walmart and Amazon these next few days. We're in Teterboro, New Jersey. Lydia Hu, Fox Business.
Gonna check out this week's list of shows and entertainment coming your way right here on Fox when we come back. All new episodes of Fox Summer Series air this week with cooking competitions, animated comedies, and more. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
Big guest stars join the TV lineup this week. Here's what's hot on Fox.
He needs a diaper.
First on Monday, the Hell's Kitchen Young Guns make brunch for 60 Caesars Palace employees fresh off the night shift.
Goodbye, Daddy. Please enjoy stepping on my farewell present in bare feet.
That's followed by Housebroken with Honey and Chief on vacation and guest stars Dak Shepard and Kristen Bell. Then on Duncanville, Annie battles the city mayor for the town's Okie Award.
Lego style.
Tuesday, it's fashion show time on Lego Masters, where teams build wearable hats made entirely of Lego bricks.
I would start sweating if I were you.
Plus, Rob Lowe and his co-star, Ava, take contestants through more rounds of quizzes and puzzles on Mental Samurai.
The legend Morimoto.
Wednesday, MasterChef legends welcome Chef Morimoto as a guest judge as the 15 home cooks who made it through auditions are tested with their first elimination challenge.
Good Lord, what have we here?
That's followed by Crime Scene Kitchen and its dessert detectives with guest judge Kelly Osborne. Thursday, cue the music. Jamie and Corinne Fox are joined by 3 teams of teachers competing for charity on Beat Shazam. Then it's a replay of Lego Masters with guest star 911's Jennifer Love Hewitt. And Friday, see who matches up in the ring next on another WWE Friday Night SmackDown. Matchups in the ring, new comedies, competitions heating up. All part of those summer series right here on Fox. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Going to leave you with video of the city of Paris. Did I say that right? No one here knows. The city of Paris. We'll go with that. Be safe. Hey, I'm Canadian, not French Canadian. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.